No one expects a quiet knock to change everything. But that night, it did. It was late, the kind of evening when the house finally exhales. The dishes were done. The lights were low. Silence felt earned. She was folding laundry on the couch when she heard it. A soft knock. Careful. Almost unsure. Her first thought was that someone had the wrong house. Her second was that something felt off. When she opened the door, she didn't see a stranger. She saw fear. Ethan stood there, shoulders tight, eyes red, hands shoved into the pockets of a jacket that looked too thin for the cold. Her husband's nephew. Barely more than a kid, though life had already asked too much of him. He didn't say hello. He just whispered her name. In that moment, she knew. Whatever had brought him here was heavy. She stepped aside without asking questions. Sometimes, love knows when to wait. Ethan walked in slowly, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to exist in the space. He kept glancing toward the hallway, as if expecting someone to follow him. Her husband, Mark, was upstairs taking a call. Ethan noticed that too. "You're safe here," she said gently. Her voice surprised even her. Ethan nodded, but his eyes didn't believe it yet. He sat on the edge of the couch, not leaning back, not relaxing. She brought him a glass of water. His hands shook when he took it. This wasn't the Ethan she knew. This wasn't the boy who used to joke at family dinners and steal extra rolls from the table. Something had changed. And it had changed deeply. She sat across from him, giving space but staying close. Close enough to matter. "You don't have to explain everything," she said. "Just tell me what you can." For a long moment, he said nothing. The clock ticked louder than it ever had. Finally, his voice cracked. "I didn't know where else to go." That sentence landed hard. Because family had always been complicated for Ethan. His parents were present in name only. And Mark, though well-meaning, had always believed tough love fixed everything. But she had noticed the quiet things. The way Ethan flinched at raised voices. The way he disappeared early from gatherings. She had noticed. And apparently, Ethan had noticed that she noticed. "I tried to handle it," he continued. "I really did." She nodded, encouraging him without pressure. Listening was something she took seriously. "I messed up," he said. "And now, I think I'm in trouble. Not legal trouble. Not the kind that makes headlines. The kind that eats at you quietly. The kind that convinces you that asking for help is failure." She didn't interrupt. She didn't judge. She just stayed. Upstairs, Mark laughed into his phone, unaware that something fragile was unfolding below. Ethan's eyes darted toward the stairs again. "He can't know yet," Ethan said quickly. "Please." That was the moment everything shifted. The moment trust was handed to her alone. She could have insisted on telling her husband right away. She could have said family secrets were shared. Instead, she asked one question. "Why me?" Ethan swallowed hard. "Because you listen," he said. "And because you don't see me as a problem." Her chest tightened. No one should feel like that at his age. She reached out, careful, and rested her hand near his. Not touching. Just present. "Whatever this is," she said, "we'll take it one step at a time." Tears finally fell. Silent. Relieved. Exhausted. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the windows softly. Inside, a bond was forming that would change all of them. Footsteps sounded upstairs. Mark's call was ending. Ethan stiffened. Fear returned to his eyes. She looked toward the stairs, then back at him. And in that moment, she realized she was standing at the edge of a choice that would test her marriage, her loyalty, and her heart. And she hadn't even heard the whole story yet. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Some secrets don't arrive loudly. They sit between breaths, waiting to be trusted. She heard Mark's footsteps pause at the top of the stairs. Her heart skipped, but she stayed calm. "Everything okay?" Mark called down casually. His voice carried warmth, unaware of the storm below. "Yes," she answered. "Just finishing up here." Ethan looked at her with wide eyes. Gratitude mixed with fear. Mark went to the bedroom. The door closed. The house settled again. But nothing felt settled anymore. She turned back to Ethan, lowering her voice. You can stay tonight. His shoulders dropped just a little. Not relief. Not yet. But hope. She brought him a blanket and gestured toward the couch. You don't have to talk more if you're not ready. He shook his head slowly. I want to, he said. I just don't know how. She sat beside him, leaving space between them. Listening without rushing. It started months ago, Ethan said quietly. With school. She nodded. He continued. I was falling behind, he said. Not because I didn't care. I just couldn't focus. His fingers twisted the edge of the blanket. I tried asking for help. But every time I did, it felt like I was disappointing someone. She felt a familiar ache. The kind that comes from being misunderstood too long. So I stopped asking, he said. I told everyone I was fine. That word. Fine. It covered too much. Then things got worse, he continued. I missed deadlines. I stopped answering messages. His voice trembled. And then people started talking. Not cruelly. Just enough to make him feel small. They said I was lazy, he said. That I didn't care. She wanted to interrupt. To correct that lie immediately. But she didn't. She let him finish. I tried fixing it on my own, Ethan said. I really did. I worked late. I skipped meals. I stopped sleeping. Her chest tightened. He was carrying more than he should. One night, he said, I realized I couldn't breathe right. Not physically. Just inside. He paused. Swallowed. I panicked, he admitted. And I didn't know who to call. That was the part that hurt the most. Not the struggle. The loneliness. She spoke gently. You're not weak for that. He looked at her, surprised. Like no one had said that before. I didn't want to be a burden, he said. Everyone already thinks I'm the problem. She shook her head slowly. You are not a problem, she said. You're a person. Tears returned. This time heavier. She handed him a tissue. He took it, nodding. They sat quietly for a moment. Just breathing. Then Ethan asked something unexpected. Can I stay here for a while? Not just tonight. That much was clear. She didn't answer right away. Because that wasn't just her decision. Mark loved his nephew. But love didn't always mean understanding. And this kind of help required patience. The quiet kind. I can talk to Mark, she said carefully. When you're ready. Ethan shook his head quickly. Not yet, he said. Please. That word again. Please. She felt the weight of it. The trust. Okay, she said finally. One step at a time. Upstairs, the bedroom light clicked off. Mark was going to sleep. She glanced toward the stairs. A conversation was coming. Just not tonight. She helped Ethan settle on the couch. Adjusted the blanket. Try to rest, she said. You don't have to solve everything tonight. As she stood to leave, Ethan spoke again. Thank you, he said. For not making me explain everything all at once. She smiled softly. Thank you for trusting me. She turned off the living room lamp and walked upstairs. But sleep didn't come easily. Mark rolled over. Who was at the door earlier? He asked sleepily. She hesitated. Just for a second. Ethan, she said. He needed somewhere to stay tonight. Mark frowned slightly. Concern, not anger. We'll talk about it tomorrow, she added gently. Okay. Mark nodded. Fell back asleep. But she lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Wondering how much truth could fit into tomorrow. Downstairs, Ethan stared at the dark ceiling too. Safe. But uncertain. And both of them knew this was only the beginning. Morning didn't bring answers. It brought tension. Sunlight crept through the curtains, soft and polite. But the air in the house felt heavy. She moved quietly through the kitchen, making coffee. Every sound felt louder than usual. Ethan was still asleep on the couch. Curled in on himself. Like someone trying to take up less space in the world. Mark came in rubbing his eyes. Morning, he said. Morning, she replied, watching his face carefully. He poured coffee and leaned against the counter. "So," he said gently, "want to tell me what's going on?" She nodded. "Yes. I do." They sat at the table. She chose her words slowly. "Ethan's struggling," she said. "He needed somewhere safe." Mark sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I wish he'd come to me," he said. "I think he didn't know how," she replied. "Or he was afraid." That landed. Mark stared into his cup. "I never meant to make him feel that way," he said quietly. "I know," she said. "But intentions don't always match impact." Silence stretched between them. Not angry. Just thoughtful. "He's always been sensitive," Mark said. "I thought pushing him would make him stronger." She reached across the table and touched his hand. "Sometimes strength comes from being supported," she said. Mark nodded slowly. "I just don't want him avoiding responsibility." "He's not," she said firmly. "He's overwhelmed." Footsteps sounded behind them. Ethan stood at the edge of the kitchen. "Hey," Mark said, turning. His voice was careful. Too careful. "Hey," Ethan replied. No one sat down right away. Old patterns hovered in the air. "I'm not here to cause problems," Ethan said quickly. "I'll leave if you want." Mark's expression tightened. "That's not what I want," he said. "I just didn't know you were hurting this much." Ethan looked down. "I didn't either," he admitted. She watched them closely. Two people who cared, but spoke different emotional languages. "I think Ethan needs some time," she said gently. "And a plan." Mark nodded. "That sounds fair." Ethan glanced at her, surprised. Hope flickered again. "We can figure things out together," Mark added. "No pressure today." Ethan exhaled. A real breath. The day moved slowly after that. They talked about simple things. Work. Weather. Breakfast plans. But underneath it all, something fragile was forming. Understanding. Maybe. Later that afternoon, Mark left for work. The house grew quiet again. Ethan sat at the table, staring at nothing. "You didn't have to defend me," he said softly. She smiled. "I wasn't defending," she said. "I was explaining." He nodded. "That's new for me." They spent the afternoon talking in pieces. Not all at once. Little truths at a time. About expectations. About fear of failing. About feeling invisible. She didn't fix anything. She didn't try to. She just listened. And sometimes, that was enough. That evening, Mark called to say he'd be late. Relief crossed Ethan's face, followed by guilt. "He cares," she said. "He just needs time to learn how to show it differently." Ethan nodded. "I hope I didn't ruin anything between you two." She looked at him seriously. "You didn't," she said. "But you did change something." He waited. "You reminded me how easy it is to miss quiet pain," she said. Night fell again. The couch was made up once more. But this time, Ethan didn't look like he was bracing for impact. Just thinking. As she turned off the light, Ethan spoke softly. "I think I want to tell him everything," he said. Her heart lifted. "And worried." "When?" she asked. "Soon," he said. "Before I lose the courage." She nodded. "I'll be right there," she said. "If you want me to be." He smiled faintly. "I do." Upstairs, she lay beside Mark. Listening to his breathing. A conversation was coming. One that could heal. Or hurt. And none of them knew which way it would go. Some conversations don't wait for the perfect moment. They arrive when courage finally speaks. The next evening felt unusually still. Like the house was holding its breath. Ethan sat at the table, hands folded tightly. Mark stood by the window, looking out but not really seeing anything. She stayed close, not in the middle. Just near enough to matter. "I need to tell you something," Ethan said. His voice shook, but he didn't stop. Mark turned slowly. "I'm listening." Ethan swallowed. "I've been scared for a long time," he said. "Scared of disappointing you." Mark's jaw tightened. Not in anger. In recognition. "I know I don't always say the right things," Mark said. "But I never wanted you to feel alone." I did, Ethan replied. Not because you didn't care. Because I didn't know how to explain myself. The words hung heavy. Honest. Raw. I felt like if I slowed down, I'd fail, Ethan continued. So I kept going until I couldn't. Mark sat down heavily. His voice was quiet when he spoke. I thought pushing you would prepare you for the world. Ethan nodded. I know, he said. But I needed someone to walk with me first. She felt her throat tighten. This was the heart of it. Mark rubbed his face, eyes shining. I'm sorry, he said. For not seeing that sooner. Ethan blinked. Tears fell freely now. I didn't come here to blame you, Ethan said. I came because I was tired of pretending. Mark stood and hesitated. Then he pulled Ethan into a careful embrace. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. She looked away, giving them privacy. Some moments don't need witnesses. When they sat back down, something had shifted. The tension wasn't gone. But it was lighter. We'll figure out school, Mark said. We'll talk to people. Make a plan. Ethan nodded. Thank you. That night, they ate dinner together. Slowly. Honestly. Laughter even slipped in once or twice. Tentative, but welcome. Later, when Ethan went to sleep, Mark stayed at the table. Staring at nothing. You were right, he said quietly to her. About support. She smiled softly. You listened, she said. That matters. He took her hand. I don't always say this, he said. But thank you for being the bridge. She squeezed his fingers. We're all still learning, she said. The days that followed weren't easy. There were phone calls. Meetings. Hard truths. But Ethan stayed. And slowly, he started to breathe easier. He helped around the house. Not to prove his worth. Just to feel useful. One afternoon, she found him smiling at his phone. Good news, she asked. Yeah, he said. I got an extension. And a chance to reset. She smiled. I'm proud of you. He paused. That means more than you know. That night, as she turned off the lights, she realized something. Helping Ethan hadn't just helped him. It had softened Mark. It had strengthened their marriage in quiet ways. But change always brings one last test. And she sensed it coming. Because growth doesn't end with relief. It asks for commitment. And tomorrow, Ethan would have to decide what came next. Some endings don't feel like endings at all. They feel like beginnings that finally make sense. The morning Ethan packed his bag, the house was quiet again. But this time, the silence wasn't heavy. Sunlight filled the kitchen as she poured coffee. Mark leaned against the counter, watching his nephew carefully. Ethan folded his jacket with more confidence now. Not rushed. Not afraid. I'm not disappearing, Ethan said, sensing their worry. I just need to try standing on my own again. Mark nodded. I know, he said. And you're not doing it alone. Ethan smiled. A real one. They sat together one last time before he left. Not to lecture. Not to plan. Just to be. I don't think I ever said this out loud, Ethan said, turning to her. But you changed things for me. She shook her head gently. You did the hard part, she said. You asked for help. He looked down, then back up. You made it feel safe to ask. Mark cleared his throat. I'm glad you came here, he said. Even if it took me a while to catch up. Ethan stood and pulled Mark into a quick hug. Stronger than before. More certain. Then he turned to her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Thank you, he said quietly. For seeing me. She hugged him back. Careful. Warm. After he left, the house felt different. Not empty. Just changed. Mark wrapped an arm around her shoulders. I didn't realize how much he needed us, he said. Sometimes people don't need fixing, she replied. They need permission to be honest. Weeks passed. Ethan called often. Not because he was struggling. Because he wanted to share. He talked about progress. Small wins. New routines. He sounded lighter. More himself. One evening, Mark set his phone down after a call and smiled. His finding his footing, he said. She smiled back. He always had it, she said. He just needed space to believe it. Life settled into a new rhythm, one built on quieter understanding. They listened more, spoke more gently, and sometimes, late at night, she thought back to that knock on the door. The one that almost went unanswered. She realized something then. Trust doesn't always come from blood or titles. Sometimes, it comes from presence. From choosing to stay when someone feels unworthy of staying. Months later, a message arrived from Ethan. Just a simple line. I'm doing okay. And I didn't forget what you did for me. She held the phone close, eyes misting. Not from sadness. From gratitude. Mark kissed her forehead. You changed a life, he said softly. She shook her head. We all did, she replied. And that was the truth. Because when one person is brave enough to ask for help, and another is brave enough to listen, everything shifts. Sometimes, all it takes is one open door,